In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the GTX 460 from EVGA. This is kind of, it's the 680s are out right now and the 670s are right around the corner. So this is, 2 generations old. But I stole this thing for $99 after rebate, brand spanking new. And I just had to check it out. I had to see what it, how it compares to the 560s and just how it would do for a $99 graphics card, because back in the day this thing was pretty hot, and I mean back in the day a few years ago, not a long time ago. But I wanted to check it out and do a rerun on it and see how it compares and see if it holds its value at 99 bucks. So take a look at the outside. Gigabyte of GDDR5 RAM. It does the 3D Vision Surround. It's got CUDA cores, SLI. It's got all the features of the 500 series. I heard they are less power efficient, but for 99 bucks, I mean, if this thing is stellar on the test bench, this will be a pretty good value. So that is a look around the box. And one thing, oh, there it is, EVGA is #1. So I was about to say it's not on this box, but there it is. So, and then this is the FPB, so free performance boost. And we'll get into that a little bit after I open up the box. So we'll get started. Pop this open. It's their older. Not really older. It's not as nearly nice of boxing as some of the more expensive cards. As you can see, it doesn't have as much of the padding and protection, but it's also a lot smaller box as well too, and lighter, probably easier to ship and all that. So take a look at what we've got. The box is empty. We've got the DVI to VGA. Okay, and then I've got 2 Molex to 1 6-pin, and then another 2 Molex to 1 6-pin. So I'm going to guess this takes 2 6-pins to run. And we also get, well, that's handy. Okay, we get a mini HDMI to regular HDMI. So I'm going to guess there must be an HDMI port as well. Okay, we get little manual here, driver disc with no case batch, but these drivers could be quite old, so I would definitely recommend getting the newest ones off of NVIDIA's website. And then a 400 series quick start guide. Okay, now let's get to the card. Not a lot of weight here. This thing feels pretty light. It's a lot smaller than I expected as well too, but nonetheless it's probably still very capable. So here we go, we've got 2 DVIs, and then there's the mini HDMI. And then on the back side here we've got the 2 6-pins like I thought. Nice big fan. It actually appears, that's a lot bigger than I expected it to be actually. So hopefully this thing is kind of quiet and is efficient in cooling. You can see a couple of heat pipes up there on the top. Most everything else is kind of covered by this plastic shell. And then we have an SLI finger up there for 2-way SLI. Okay, so let's put this in the test bench and fire it up and see what we can squeeze out of this guy. While the system is booting, I just wanted to point out that it's almost silent. I can't hear the fan running at its normal speed here. I'll have to get into Afterburner and see when we ramp it up, but this seems pretty efficient. It's quite quiet. It seems like it's moving a fair amount of air. And also, I wanted to go through some specs as well too. This particular card here has got 336 CUDA cores, and the shader clock is running at 820, or excuse me, the core clock is 823 megahertz. The shader clock would be twice that. and it's a 192-bit interface to the 1 gigabyte of RAM. So now that we've got it going, looks like it's working alright. I'll get the drivers updated and installed, and I'm going to be using the same drivers. It's the 301.24. I'll be using those drivers, and we'll start some testing there. Alright, so now we're going to be testing the sound of the fan and just how loud it is. So this is at its minimum of 30%, and you cannot hear it, or at least I can't. I'm sure you guys can't either. It doesn't quite work as well, but we can get a close idea. But I cannot hear it at 30%. So I'm going to take it up to about 50%, and we'll see. So at 50%, it's become audible to me. I'm not sure if you guys can tell the difference. So let's go to 75%. So that is kind of ramped up, and I'm sure now you guys can hear it. And now I'll go to 100%. Which in my opinion really isn't much louder than 75. It seems to me the threshold of noise really jumps at that 75 mark. 50 to 75 is definitely the biggest increase in noise. 100, not so much. I'll go back down to 75 again. Barely quieter. And then back to 50. Now you can just barely hear it. And then back to lowest clock of 30. Okay, so there is the noise level. Now we'll move on to some testing. Okay, so I've been running folding at home for a couple of days now on the card. And we're looking at a 14,036.5 points per day on this GPU, and I've seen a temperature as high as 59 degrees Celsius, and the fan speed has gotten up to, looks like, 70%. So that is a quick look at how well it folds and how well it runs for a couple of days at 100% usage. And then the sound, I don't find horribly offensive. Keep in mind though that this would never even get this loud gaming in a well ventilated case anyway, because using 99% of the GPU I don't think would be consistent in a game. So, but other than that, at 65% is where we're at now. It's not horrible. It's just a little bit louder than the rest of the fan setup that I have here blowing across the test bench. Okay, now let's go to some of the 3D Mark testing. Okay, so I've got the 460 on the bench, and I ran 3D Mark 11 and 3D Mark Vantage. I ran them both 3 times and took the average scores. And I want to mention real quick, the driver version I'm using for NVIDIA is 301.24. It's not approved because it's a beta driver. But anyway, on 3D Mark 11, I ran a P-score of 3251 average and a graphical score of 3726 average. And then on the 3D Mark Vantage, I got a P-score of 11,270 average and a graphic score of 13,772 on average of the 3 runs. Okay, so now let's wrap it all up. Okay, so now we're going to wrap this up on the GTX 460, and I've already gone through the 3D Mark scores and the Vantage scores, and you know, we're seeing about a 10 to 20% hit over the 560 scores, but the 560, well, it's a 560 Ti first of all, so it's not even a fair comparison. There's more cores, and it is clocked at a higher megahertz than the 560 Ti that I tested. However, the 560 Ti that I tested was more than twice the price of this 460. I got this off of Newegg, and it's May of 2012, so I got this off of Newegg, and after rebate I paid about $100 for it. So that's considerably less than the 560 Ti, and I haven't tested a 550 Ti, which would be about the same price point. Maybe the 550 Ti would be a little higher, but I'm going to guess that this is probably similar to a 550 Ti as far as performance, and it's still just a little cheaper than the 550 Ti, and so it kind of makes it a decent value. You know, if you could pick it up for even less than $100, it would really start to shine. I didn't attempt any overclocking with it. I usually don't on any video cards or processors, because I believe the value is in what you get as well too, and then overclocking isn't always the safest thing, and you start talking, if you have to water cool, then you have additional expenses. So I just figured what we get out of the box is the fairest way to test, and I'm sure you could overclock this thing though, I'm sure, and get some more performance out of it. So I think it's a decent value for the price if you pick it up for $100 or less, even though it's, you know, old technology, or maybe not old, maybe old is the wrong word, but it's definitely aging technology. And anyway, so you know, you can kind of do with that information as you will, but I don't think it is a bad deal at all. So that'll wrap it all up, and as always, thank you guys for watching.